Set in 1938 during the Japanese occupation of Korea, the film begins in Seoul with a woman driving her teenage stepdaughter, Shizuko, to a sanatorium school for women, a facility where ill young women are sent to recover and regain their health through rest and proper care. Shizuko doesn't want to be apart from her family, but her stepmother is hard-hearted to leave her in the sanitarium. She has already planned to go to Tokyo to be with her husband after she dropped off Shizuko. Meanwhile, the students at the school eagerly peeked through the windows, curious about the arrival of the new girl. The principal greeted Shizuko warmly, assuring her that her health would soon improve. However, when the school counselor inspected her belongings, she discarded everything except Shizuko's clothes. Shizuko tried to hold on to her notebook, but in response, she was slapped by the counselor for being disobedient. Kazue, one of the students at the sanatorium, stood out for her calm and kind demeanor, unlike the others. Hoping to befriend Shizuko, she said to her that the counselor was only strict with newcomers and believed Shizuko would adjust to the new environment soon. Later, Shizuko was brought to the embroidery class to be introduced to the rest of the students. When they heard her name, they exchanged puzzled glances. A young woman named Kihira stepped in to help Shizuko get settled and catch up with the lesson. Shizuko got to know her classmates and gradually became friends with them. That night, before bedtime, the principal gave all the students a strange medicine, claiming it would help improve their health. Without thinking too much about it, Shizuko took it like everyone else. Around midnight, she was awakened by Yuka, the unofficial leader among the students, who led her to another room. Yuka began teasing her and tossing small stones at her for fun. Suddenly, Shizuko started coughing up blood and collapsed. Then Kazue came and commanded all the students there to leave the room. Kazue and Yuka were once close friends, but they had recently become rivals. The following day, Shizuko was summoned to the principal's office, where she was offered a strange tea and told about a special competition. Each year, 2 students who show outstanding physical strength are chosen to go to Tokyo and attend a prestigious school. All the girls at the sanatorium are competing for this opportunity, and the principal encouraged Shizuko to join as well. Afterward, the school advisor gave her an injection, claiming it would help relieve her pain. On her way back to her room, Kihira pulled Shizuko aside and shared that another girl with the same name had recently been at the school. She explained that Yuka, Kazue, and the previous Shizuko had once been close friends. However, one day, without any warning, Shizuko vanished mysteriously and wasn't able to say goodbye to them. Shortly after, Kazue took Shizuko to a hidden underground storage room. There, Kazue found a notebook and offered it to Shizuko to replace the one that had been confiscated by the counselor. As they talked about their past experiences at school, the two began to bond and grow closer. Later, the students were tested on their physical abilities by seeing how high they could jump. Yuka and Kazue achieved the highest scores, while Shizuko struggled and couldn't manage to jump at all. One day during lunch, the principal reminded the students to take their medicine daily and on schedule, explaining that the doses were tailored to each girl's physical condition to speed up their recovery. Quietly, Shizuko asked Kihira about the former Shizuko, who she was and what had happened to her. Without warning, Kihira snapped, grabbing Shizuko and attempting to strangle her as if trying to kill her. Fortunately, Kazue intervened just in time, but Kihira suddenly began convulsing and behaving erratically, as if in a state of delirium. Everyone heard the sound of her bones cracking and saw white foam coming from her mouth. After a while, she seemed to return to normal, but had no memory of what had just happened. Even so, Shizuko apologized to her. The next day, Kazue and Shizuko secretly snuck out of the school and wandered into the forest. After some time walking, they reached a river. Shizuko was overjoyed. It was the first time in her life she had ever seen a river. During the next physical test, Shizuko surprised everyone by jumping farther than most of the students, earning third place behind Kazue and Yuka. Her health was clearly improving, and she believed it was all thanks to Kazue's support. For the first time, she had someone she could truly rely on. However, Yuka grew jealous of their growing friendship. Out of spite, she placed a dead bird inside Shizuko's closet and mocked her, saying she would always be pitiful. But Shizuko, now stronger and healthier, refused to be bullied anymore. As payback, she placed a dead bird on Yuka's breakfast plate. One day, Shizuko discovered a notebook hidden beneath Kazue's mattress and decided to take a look. Inside, she found a torn photo of Kazue, and on the floor nearby, she noticed a necklace. Just as she reached for it, a hand suddenly emerged from under the bed and snatched the necklace away. When she looked underneath, there was no one there. Moments later, a terrifying woman appeared across the room. Horrified, Shizuko ran out and accidentally bumped into the counselor. When she returned and checked under the bed again, it was empty. Shortly afterward, a girl named Iguchi mysteriously vanished. The principal claimed that Iguchi's mother had arrived the night before and taken her home, but Shizuko didn't believe him. She was certain that the woman under the bed looked exactly like Iguchi. She tried to tell Kazue, but Kazue dismissed her. Then Kihira asked if she had truly seen Iguchi, and when Shizuko confirmed it, Kihira suggested they go back and check. Terrified, Shizuko saw another woman in the same horrifying condition as Iguchi. As she stepped back in fear, she bumped into Kihira, who was now strangling herself. When Shizuko asked what was happening, Kihira collapsed to the floor, struggling to move as her bones cracked and her body twisted unnaturally. Panicked, Shizuko ran to get the counselor, but when they returned, both Kihira and the woman under the stairs had vanished. Shizuko was then summoned to the principal's office, where she dismissed everything as a hallucination and insisted she take a higher dose of her medication. She also told her that Kihira had been transferred to another school earlier that morning. Now, Shizuko is convinced that something truly sinister is going on at the school. Later on, Shizuko and Kazue spent time together on the playground, casually chatting. Deep down, Shizuko realized that Kazue was only being kind to her because she reminded her of the former Shizuko who once stayed at the school. While she didn't mind being seen as a replacement, it hurt her to know that Kazue might not truly value her for who she was. Kazue remained silent, which made it clear to Shizuko that her suspicions were true, that Kazue's kindness stemmed from her memories of the original Shizuko, her true friend. Feeling hurt and disappointed, Shizuko suddenly jumped, just like in their physical tests, and managed to leap across the entire ramp. Both girls were stunned by what happened. They later went to the bathroom, where Shizuko admitted that something felt strange happening in her body and asked Kazue for help. At that moment, Kazue was reminded of a painful memory from the past that still haunted her. She ran off and made her way to the basement. In the center of the room stood a large box that triggered memories of the past, specifically something connected to the former Shizuko incident. Later, Shizuko went to see the principal and requested to stop taking her medication, saying she felt much better. The principal agreed and told her to return to class in time for the next embroidery session. That day, the principal made an announcement that she would soon select one student she believed had the best chance of winning the upcoming competition. Most of the students assumed it would be either Kazue or Yuka, but to everyone's surprise, she chose Shizuko. After the principal left, an enraged Yuka confronted Shizuko, accusing her of stealing the opportunity. She shoved Shizuko repeatedly into a locker until Shizuko, yelling in frustration, pushed her back with unexpected force. The mirror on the locker shattered, scattering sharp fragments across the floor. Overcome with fury, Shizuko grabbed Yuka by the neck and lifted her off the ground. Everyone stood frozen in shock at her sudden burst of strength and no one dared to intervene. She only snapped out of it when Yuka lost consciousness. Afterward, Kazue approached and asked if she was okay, noticing the shards of glass embedded in her hand. Shizuko calmly replied that she didn't feel any pain. Kazue was stunned and remembered her late friend Shizuko had said the exact same thing. Suddenly, Kazue began shaking her, demanding to tell who she really was. In the next scene, Kazue is seen unconscious on the bed. As Shizuko sat beside her, she took the opportunity to open Kazue's diary and found pages filled with Kazue's name. One page had a drawing of a box, which Shizuko instantly recognized as the one from the storage room. Realizing the connection, she headed there, with Kazui regaining consciousness and following her. A flashback then reveals the moment when the previous Shizuko and Kazui were in that storage room. Later, Shizuko began experiencing seizures similar to what Kihira had gone through, and though her hands were injured, she felt no pain. Desperately, she pleaded with Kazui for help, but Kazui, frightened, pushed her away. By the time Kazui returned with the advisor, Shizuko had vanished without a trace. They were simply told she had been sent home that night, and its mystery continued to haunt Kazui. Back in the present, Kazui and Shizuko went to the principal's office to uncover the truth behind the mysterious disappearances of the girls at the sanitarium. Suddenly, the principal entered with a Japanese soldier, forcing the girls to quickly hide behind a cabinet. From their hiding spot, they overheard a conversation about a secret experiment involving a powerful medicine. After the two left, Kazui and Shizuko used a key they had found earlier to open a safe in the office. Inside, they discovered documents revealing a shocking truth that the military had been funding research to develop a medicine intended to give soldiers temporary superhuman strength. To test it, they had been secretly using the young women at the sanitarium as experimental subjects. The files explained that while the medicine initially appeared to heal the girls and enhance their physical abilities, it ultimately led to their deaths. This only explained why Shizuko's newfound strength and high jumps, but also revealed the dark truth behind the girls' so-called recoveries and sudden disappearances. They weren't being sent home, they died as a result of the medicine that they take every day. Their investigation was suddenly interrupted by noise coming from outside. When they stepped out, they saw a horrifying sight of Yuka had fallen from a tree and was now hanging lifeless from a branch. The counselor immediately ordered everyone to return to their rooms. However, soon she realized that Shizuko and Kazui were missing. Outside, the two had taken the opportunity to escape and were now sprinting through the forest, desperate to get as far away from the sanitarium as possible. Then they reached the military base and decided to go in the opposite direction. Just as they were about to change direction, a soldier caught up with them. They tried to resist and fight back, but in the middle of escaping, Shizuko was shot in the back. As she collapsed, Kazui leaned in and whispered something into her ear before fleeing into the forest. Meanwhile, the soldier dragged the wounded Shizuko back to the sanitarium. The principal injected Shizuko with a sedative and restrained her to the bed. Meanwhile, Kazui made it to the principal's office and found a gun, determined to rescue Shizuko. She eventually located her, but something in the room immediately drew her attention. Before she could react or help her friend, a soldier ambushed her from behind and knocked her unconscious. In the next scene, the principal and the counselor are seen sedating the other girls and having them inhale an experimental medicine. The principal is seen very happy, as her experiment is about to succeed. The soldier had his own agenda. Tired of being treated like a servant and constantly humiliated by the principal, he decided it was time to turn the tables. He told her that once the experiment succeeded by morning, the military would no longer need her, meaning he would finally be free to act on his own. He declared that he would be taking control of the experiment moving forward. Naturally, the principal refused to give up her authority. However, to her shock, the advisor sided with the soldier and even slapped her across the face, signaling a complete betrayal. Later on, a group of soldiers arrived to take control of the experimental facility. Meanwhile, Kazui regained consciousness inside a box filled with water. She struggled to escape, calling out Shizuko's name in desperation, but there was no response. Moments later, Shizuko finally woke up and began searching for her friend. Along the way, she discovered a chilling room filled with tanks where women were frozen in place. Then she spotted Kazui inside a box. Shizuko cried out to her, but it was too late, Kazui had already been dead for some time. Grief quickly turned into rage. Fueled by anger, Shizuko rose with a fierce determination to destroy everyone responsible for the cruel experiments that killed her friend. Drawing on her unnatural strength, she ripped a heavy wooden door from its hinges and hurled it at the soldiers and the principal. Although they opened fire on her, she dodged the bullets and managed to hide. Then Shizuko started to take down the soldiers one by one. Meanwhile, the other women began to awaken and now also empowered with superhuman strength. They turned on the advisor and strangled her in an explosion of vengeance and fury. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the facility, the principal desperately tried to contact the military base, but before she could, Shizuko found her. With overwhelming strength, Shizuko lifted the principal and slammed her against the wall as if she weighed nothing. Just as she turned to go to Kazui, the principal fired a gun. The bullet missed, but shattered a nearby box, causing Kazui's lifeless body to fall to the ground. Seeing this, Shizuko was consumed by rage. Without hesitation, she grabbed the principal by the throat and violently slammed her into the wall, ending it without mercy. In the final scene, Shizuko saw the dead body of her classmate. After the chaos, they became more violent and started killing each other, driven by the medicine that they take. The advisor's body was full of embroidery after they killed her. The entire school was left messed up because of the corpses littered. The only survivor was Shizuko, sitting quietly beside Kazui's lifeless body, the last witness to the horror that unfolded. And that's where the story ends. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also hit the notification bell to get updated on every video that we upload. Thank you and have a great day.